Good morning, everybody. You might be amazed, we have no announcements this morning. Okay. We have a secret, we have an announcement at the end. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. No, okay, please. We have at least one announcement.
So sorry. 2 announcements. This is the last week to sign up if you're interested in doing the blending experiment, where people, I think it's groups of 6, will be randomly mixed up, and then you get to choose how you're going to meet. It could be Zoom, it could be a dinner, it can be a walk. So the sign-up sheet is there, and the second announcement is to just let everyone know that there is a donation box back here for Clear Mountain and St. Mark's, and they give this space every week very generously and graciously to us. So please take a look at the announcements back there. 3 announcements.
Single digits. This is also next Monday, the next 4-week writing bundle, 4 to 6 p.m. Wholehearted Uncertainty Writers. Begins again, no charge, any genre, any level, and we have a really good time. Yeah, and we try to relate it to Dhamma, which is actually almost impossible not to do.
Okay. Well, great announcements. Great announcements. I'm glad we had those. And the first Saturday of every month, we open up the opportunity for people to request and to take the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. This is a traditional way of looking at what your life trajectory is and what your main principles for life are. So people, if you've got a chanting book, the chanting request begins on 126. And I think we'll have 1 leader, and then everyone else can join in that formal requesting.
Mayang Pante Tisaranena Saha Pancha Sila Niyajama Tutiyampi Mayang Pante Tisaranena Saha Pancha Sila Niyajama Tatiyampi Mayang Pante Tisaranena Saha Pancha Sila Niyajama.
Okay, so we'll jump ahead 2 pages to 128, where there's the actual ceremony. So this is a big part of Theravada Buddhism as it's lived in Southeast Asia and around the world, is kind of formally making this declaration or intention to keep the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, that is, that which knows the truth, and the community of people who are trying to live deeply into the Buddha and the Dhamma, keeping all of those in mind and going for refuge to those. So that's the 3 refuges. And I'll recite the Pali 3 times for this Namo, and then you can recite after me 3 times as well, if you're so inclined. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
And we'll recite each one of these in Pali. I'll recite it once, and then you can recite next. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
พุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
ธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
สังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
ทุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
ทุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
ทุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tisaranakammanang nititang. And now for these 5 precepts, we'll do it in Pali. I'll do Pali, you do Pali, then I'll do English, and you do English. And these are all framed as terms of voluntarily undertaking to train in these different principles. So, Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to
Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
อาทินาทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which has not been given. Kame sumichachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
กาเมสุมิชฌาจาราเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
มุสาวาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Sura meraya majjapamadhatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
สุราเมรยามัชฌะปมาทฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sugating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nibbutting yanti tasama silang visodaye.
สาธุสาธุสาธุ
Okay. So it's really a privilege, I feel, to be part of that, to share space with people who are really trying to give their lives and establish these strong intentions towards harmlessness. So, great group we got here. And now we can meditate, but before you close your eyes, if you haven't yet done so, and even if you have, you can open them, would invite everyone to just stare, just look and even stare at this flower, with all the implications of what it means to stare. So there's fixation. It's almost as if something is coming out and grabbing, allowing this flower, this image to be consumed by the mind. can almost even imagine that you've got like a little lassos coming out of your eyeballs and wrapping around the flower there. Just going out in that way. And with a single gesture of the mind, just let go of the lasso and just allow attention and awareness to come back internally. To just almost turn the light around rather than us going out and experiencing the flower. We just follow the light back into our own eyes. And with that, you can close your eyes. Settling back into the body and letting the mind settle back into the body. Letting attention and awareness, with just one little drop, we've let go of this outward going tendency with which we've been obsessed for however long, the morning or the week or the month. Coming back into the body. And when we sit meditation, it can be good to arrange the body in a way which will be supportive to mental development. So we want both a bodily and a mental posture which is upright, but not uptight. So the vertebrae just stacked on top of one another. Spine like a column of light, upright. But then all the rest of our muscles, all of that can just relax as if it was a jacket around a coat rack. All the muscles can relax around this upright spine. And with the body in place like this, you can feel free to stay with whatever meditation object you're most used to, the breath or a mantra, or the breath with a mantra. Or if you're up for experimenting and doing a little bit of mind flex, I'll just give a little bit of guidance about other ways that we can inhabit the body and inhabit the mind. People might be familiar with a body scan that starts at the top of the head and scans down to the feet. But this morning we'll start with a different way of body scanning. Continuing this thread of turning the light around. So with this body scan, it can just be a scan of the head, and rather than from top to bottom, we'll scan from front to back. So bringing attention to the tip of the nose. And you're not staring at it. If the eyes were open, you wouldn't be looking cross-eyed at it. This is just a mental awareness. Bringing awareness to the tip of the nose. And then we'll allow this awareness to be like a sheet of paper, like a sheet of cloth, of robe, or a sheet of water. Just passing from the front of the nose, aiming towards the back of the head, feeling the sides of the nose. And as you do this, just allow any relaxation that happens naturally to happen. All this thin layer of muscle on each side of the nose, which we've been tensing for who knows why, can just relax as we bring a kind awareness to it. And then allowing the beautiful and shimmering sheet of awareness to continue back, feeling the muscles around the eyes, around both eyes. This ring of orbicular oralis. All of that can just relax. Again, we've been focusing here and there and in and out and bearing down, and all of that as we allow awareness to be with the muscles around the eyes with kindness can just relax. And allowing now to come to the ring of muscles around the mouth. All the verbal flexing and tensing and teeth baring and teeth gnashing and conscious and unconscious growling and tension that we've built up both while awake and while asleep. All of that, as we bring the mind to it, can just relax and relax backwards. It's as if gravity has shifted and any tension that's there is now just falling back towards the back of the head. And coming to the cheeks and the forehead, letting all these thin or thick muscle masses be felt thoroughly from the inside with the mind. And if there's any just natural relaxing, just let it relax. And all the tension just dissolves backwards towards the back of the head, where it can just drip off. And continuing the sheet of awareness, this cool sheet of awareness, dripping further back, all the muscles in the top of the head and around the temples and the jaw, all of it can just relax. And the muscles around the ears and further back in the head. Thin sheets of muscle have been just habitually contracting based on our moods and opinions. And our faces have become that. They've gotten frozen into the habitual flight or fright and fight expressions. And we're here, we're in a safe place, we've all taken the precepts. No need to prop all that up, hold all that so tightly, and coming to the back of the head. And just, if there's any psychically amassed energy or stress at the back of the head, just imagine all that just dripping off as well. No need to be a face for the world. We can just be this calm and relaxed space for the world and for each other. And you can do that scan again if you want, from the front to the back. Or you can just stay at the back of the head. And again, the mind is not a little you hiding behind the eyes that has to peek out and stare at any part of the body that we're paying attention to. It's just a knowing, a local awareness, knowing from the back of the head. Three-dimensionally. It's not that awareness is consumed and entirely constrained within what's in front of the back of the head, but it feels like we can know back from the back of the head. And for the next bit of time, just see if you can allow the mind to just let be and let be still at the back of the head. And if the mind goes off into the future, planning, obsessively thinking, just come back to the back. Coming back to the back. In the last few minutes of a meditation, especially in a group setting, it's really helpful to practice loving kindness. There are many ways to practice loving kindness or metta bhavana. And here I'll suggest one that just dovetails with this, bringing the mind to the back. So in Chinese Buddhism, there's a being known as Guanyin, the goddess of compassion. And in this way of practice, you can just imagine that there's a huge pupil or eyeball. Guanyin's huge eye is just right behind you, right at the back of your head. You can allow any sense of tranquility or any sense of awareness, clarity that you've cultivated in these last few minutes. Just take that clarity and allow it to shine with this gentle, loving eye of Guanyin, just in every direction. Shining not from the front, not from your eyes, but shining, radiating, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, above, below, around, and everywhere, through your face, through your whole body, with no limit. Wishing, may I be well, and may all beings be well, including in this kind and friendly glance that blends like milk and water, including everyone in the room, no walls, everyone in Seattle, everyone in Washington. And with no walls, there's no limit. All humans, all non-humans, those who we care about, those who we love, inclusive. Guanyin isn't choosy. Just wishing everyone clarity and well-being.
I will be chanting the Dhamma talk request. It's on page 124 of the chant book. Please feel free to do along with me if you would like. I will start by bowing 3 times. Brahma Jaloka Thipadi Sampati Gat Anjalianan Tiwarang Ayajatha Santi Thasatta ชาติกาเทเสตุธัมมังอนุกัมปิมังปะชัง
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Chitte chittanupassi viharati atapi sampajano satima. Vinaya loke abhijja domanasa. Okay. So what I chanted just there, I'm going to ask everyone to chant in English if you are so inclined. It's on page 96, and it's the Buddha's advice defining right mindfulness. So some of you might be familiar with in Chinese Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, they've got something called the Heart Sutra, which doesn't exist in Theravada. But what we're going to chant here can be considered like a Theravada Heart Sutta. This is the essence of the Buddha's meditation advice. So we'll start midway down on 96, just the English, where it starts, and what bhikkhus is right mindfulness. Bhikkhus here, we can take it just mean practitioner. It literally means monastic, but it does apply to all practitioners, all of us who are trying to practice good habits and to let go of bad habits. And I think we do have some he's, some gender language. Feel free to change those to ones. And just doing the English. And we'll do it together. And what bhikkhus is right mindfulness? Here bhikkhus, a bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. One abides contemplating feelings as feelings, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. One abides contemplating mind as mind, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. One abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. This bhikkhus is called right mindfulness. And that's going to be the subject for the Dhamma talk today. So if you wanted to keep your books out, I'm going to do almost a word-by-word examination of that. And you will notice that it's basically the same thing, a similar-ish thing said 4 times. So it's like 4 for 1. You just memorize 1 and you basically got all 4. And they are different practices, but in terms of memorizing, you can memorize this. And they're all good instructions. Each word in there is a good instruction for what to be doing with the mind, where to be locating the mind, where to be knowing from. But before going into that, I think people will know, if you've been here before, I love language. I love languages. And I've got basically 3 main linguistic loves. You'll know, if you've been here before, I love me some Pali. And you might not even know what Pali is, but Pali is the language of Theravada Buddhism, and I love it. It's very succinct. Each word has a little root. It's got like a little kernel of meaning. The prefixes all have meanings which, can tell you how to direct your mind as well. First language love, Pali. It's great for Buddhism. Second language love is Thai language. We have some Thai people here. If you don't have any Thai people in your life, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for you. You should make a point to make some Thai friends. It's great. Thai language has a lot of insights, also very good for learning Dhamma. My third language love, it would be awesome if anybody else had this, but it is the slang of early 90s elementary schools in Cincinnati, Ohio. Anybody? Anybody? No. You missed out. You missed out on that one too. We had a whole language of slang, and I'll just, one of the slangs which we used in my elementary school, which you've probably all heard it before as well. It's just in Cincinnati, Ohio, the nasty natty, as we called it. We got our slang like 2 years late. So everybody probably knows this slang, but we used it in my elementary school, and it is good meditation instructions. It's good Buddhism instructions. It's good Dhamma instructions. And that is, stop fronting. Stop fronting. That's the phrase. Stop fronting. Why are you fronting? Why are you fronting? And what that means in the context is like if your friend, say if my friend told me that, say he had a triplet, and I know he didn't even have a twin, then I would say, stop fronting. Why are you fronting? It means basically, why are you lying? Why are you putting on a front? Why are you putting on a facade? Stop fronting. It's like if they told me that they had a girlfriend in Brazil. I'd be like, stop fronting. You are in 4th grade in Ohio. Stop fronting. And it's great advice. It was great advice then, and I think it does. Why I bring this up is because I've been sitting meditation a lot. This past week, we've got this period where we meditate for 7 hours a day, every day on Zoom. And you're all welcome. We'll be doing it at least for another month. So meditating a lot, sometimes things will come to mind, a thought will come to mind. And this thought came to my mind maybe last Sunday. And I'm like, that's great advice. And I think it works on the level of sila, of morality, works on the level of samadhi, of mind training, and it works on the level of wisdom. And it works on the level of generosity. There's a great Thai phrase, bit tong lang pra, which means to put gold on the back of a Buddha statue. And what that refers to is that we are all obsessed with the front, what's in front of us, what people can see, how other people can see us being generous. And what this points to is actually, so there's little pieces of gold leaf, which you can buy, and then everybody wants to put their gold leaf on the Buddha's face or on the Buddha's chest, because then every time when you come to see the Buddha, you're like, oh, yep, I put that on the Buddha's forehead. That was me. Whereas it's extra virtuous if you can say, actually, not even tell anybody. You just take your little gold leaf, put it, the back of the Buddha needs some love too. It needs some gold too. So coming back to the back on the level of generosity, on the level of precepts, it really does just mean stop lying. Stop lying to yourself, stop lying to others. And really, the Buddha said that there's one thing, if someone transgresses it, there's nothing that they won't transgress. And what is that one thing? It's someone who's not afraid of telling a deliberate lie. So really, honesty, telling the truth, is the kernel of the heart of morality, because we have to be able to tell the truth to ourselves. That's what keeping precepts, keeping principles is all about. When people are watching and when people are not watching. So not fronting on the level of morality. On the level of mind, it really is this, we are so forward-leaning so much of the time. It's like we live, 2 feet in front of ourselves, or 3 feet, or 10 feet. Or if you've got a phone, it's like you go 1.5 feet out in front of you, and then you're just teleported to the other side of the universe, to the other side of the world. And it is like, again, I don't know why I've got all these, I must be meditating too much, but another early 90s metaphor, hopefully somebody knows this, Mortal Kombat, Scorpion, get over here, he shoots this little like grappling hook out of his hand, and just pulls the other guy towards him. And that's like what we're doing all the time. Like out of our eyes, we're just shooting out these lassos, and just me-making, I-making, mine-making with all of you, all the things in our world. This is mine. I'm obsessed with this. And you'd think we would get tired of all that, but we don't. We're just perpetually lean. We're perpetually bent and bent forward. And it is meditative calisthenics, meditative yoga. And in fact, yoga is used in the Pali Canon to mean yoking, or the movement of the mind. And you really need to, in addition to practicing yoga with the body, this mental yoga, being able to retract that grappling hook, that lasso, whatever it is, or just dropping it. And this is a skill. This is, in this phrase, the heart of the canon, the Pali word is vinaya, which is translated here as having put away. Having put away. And the phrase can be past tense, like we've dropped the lasso, we have put away already covetousness and grief towards the world, or it can be present tense, putting away, letting go of this craving and grasping, this greed and anger towards the world, just letting go of the lasso and just letting the light turn around. The Pali word vinaya, the root is ni, which means to lead, and it's related to vinaya, which is, sometimes you hear monastics use this word vinaya, and it's so familiar to us that we don't even translate it. It means the monastic discipline, the rules which monks and nuns keep, and it's that which leads out of our old habits, our bad habits. Vinaya, it's the discipline, that which leads away. And here what we're doing is we're leading away, we're letting go, and this can happen in one, just not even a foul swoop, just a beautiful letting go of attention. Just, yeah, sometimes it feels like if awareness is obsessed with whatever it is out there, sometimes it feels like all you can do is just retract the asava. Asava is a good word. It means the outflows of the mind, that which is flowed out. All these trickles, these leakages of mind, which is leaking out of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, and mind, just leaking out of the eyes, just obsessed with whatever it is. It might feel like you need to reel it back in, or you can just let it go and just, oh, actually, the mind is here, the body is here, the back of the head is here, and mind didn't really go anywhere. So just putting that away, just letting that go, leading away from our obsessions out there and coming back to a space of balance. This satipatthana is the foundation of mindfulness, literally the establishings of mindfulness, the upatthana, thana, sthana, standing, the standings, establishments of mindfulness, that which has a sense of balance, not leaning forward, not leaning away with aversion, not leaning from side to side, not stuck up, not hunkered down, just with a sense of balance. So coming back to this foundation of mindfulness, establishing mindfulness here, balanced. And there are many suttas that talk about this. The Satipatthana Sutta, which is the kind of the main teaching that the Buddha gave on meditation. But he talked about this, and he used this pericope, this stock phrase, over and over and over in many different suttas. There's a whole collection of a chapter in the collected discourses on foundations of mindfulness, just this stock phrase of knowing the body as a body, in the body, knowing feelings in feelings, knowing mind as in mind, knowing mind objects as mind objects, coming back to a sense of balance. And several suttas in that discourse, in that discourse collection, that chapter, talk about balance, physical balance. One sutta brings up two acrobats. One of them is named Frying Pan in Pali. And there's Frying Pan's teacher who suggests a way that Frying Pan balance on the teacher's shoulders. So this image of balance. And the lesson of that is when you look after yourself, when you look after yourself, you're actually looking after others. I'll look after me, and you look after you, and then we can all stay balanced. And it's crucial to note that it's through looking after oneself, through protecting oneself, that you can look after yourself. And the Buddha defines that. How does one look after oneself? How does one protect oneself? through the development, cultivation, and making much of these 4 foundations of mindfulness, coming back to a sense of balance, letting go of that attentional grappling hook, just letting go of the fire that is starting fires all around us. So leading away from that. Other sense, another simile of balance is, the Buddha says we can practice mindfulness of the body as if balancing a large pot of oil on our heads. Balance. And so the next line in this refrain is, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Putting aside covetousness and grief for the world. Abhijja domanassa. And these are 2 words which are just placeholders for the whole sphere, the whole scope of liking that which leans in and loves and wants to pull back upon ourselves and to have, and that which pulls away from and dislikes and wants to disengage and push away. Abhijja domanassa, the covetousness and grief for the world. Covetousness here, abhijja literally means overthinking. So letting go, putting aside, leading away from, overthinking, out of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, coming back to a sense of balance. Coming back to the back. And this is just great meditation advice that you can do throughout your day. So much of us are just unbalanced, leaning forwards. If we're not leaning forward and falling and collapsing into our phones or our devices, we're obsessed with the people around us. We've lost our balance. Our center of gravity is somewhere way out there. We don't even know where. You just come and you've been playing on your computer or doing work or whatever it is, and you just finally look at your body and you're just totally collapsed. You're just totally, the wind is taken out of you. It's because the mind has been trickling out. All the energy has been bleeding out of you. So coming back to a place of balance, keeping this vat of oil that we're balancing so that no oil falls out. So coming back to a place of balance. Putting away covetousness and grief for the world. The Buddha talks about 4 specific ways. It's a sutta in the Anguttara, the numerical discourses. We said there are these 4 types of beings existing in the world. And sometimes Ajahn Nisabho and I get feedback like, you guys, sometimes you're soft pedaling the Dhamma. You're not going hard. Sometimes you just need to go hard and tell us the true Dhamma. Tell us the true Dhamma. Don't worry about our feelings. We know you're tiptoeing around everything because you think we're weak. You think we're American Buddhists who can't handle anything. Okay. I didn't say it. Here, this sutta, the Buddha says there are 4 types of people existing in the 4. What 4? There's someone who gives weight to, the Pali word is garu, which also means weight or respect. And it's related to gravity, to the English word gravity. You give gravity, you give weight, you give respect. To what? To labha, or to material goods, to gains. You're giving weight, your attentional center of gravity is all outside of you. It's in your phone, on Temu, or on Amazon, or whatever it is. If you were to have an eye tracker, you'd be all over the page, constantly scanning our environments. Okay, I like that. I like that sweater. I like that meditation cushion. Here it's more wholesome. Yeah. Meditation cushion, yoga pants. We don't do that. But we give weight to. There's someone who give weights to and respects material goods, gives weight to gaining as opposed to giving weight to the true Dhamma, the Saddhamma. There's someone who gives weight to sakkara, or being liked, to praise, and doesn't give weight to the true Dhamma. So many of us have just this constant filter. It's like we're a face detecting screen that just, we know we're tracking what is somebody else's mood. Do they like me? Are they paying attention to me? Am I getting the attention? Are the eyeballs meeting my eyeballs? And we're obsessed with that. And I find myself doing this. We're sitting meditation, and we've got the Zoom screen on, and I'm supposed to be meditating, and sometimes I just open my eyes, and rather than paying attention to all the infinite space around me in every direction, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, all the empty space around me, I've got this tiny screen in front of me with tiny little rectangles on it, and I'll look at a face, because we're obsessed with faces. Mammals, we're obsessed with other mammals. Humans, we're obsessed with other humans, the faces, and we're hyper attuned to every single twitch of the eye, and we're giving weight to being liked as opposed to giving weight to the true Dhamma. And if you notice yourself doing this, giving weight to noticing that your attentional center of gravity is outside of center, outside of this foundation of mindfulness, somewhere outside, wanting to be liked, come back to the back of the head. Come back to this huge pupil of Guan Yin that can just love, that's not based on me. It's not me shooting out love, it's just compassion. The third person existing in the world is someone who gives precedence and gives weight to attentional gravity, to hatred, and not to the true Dhamma. And this is when we listen to our thoughts of dislike. The third and fourth verses of the Dhammapada say, he hit me, she struck me, he offended me, he stole from me. Quotes, all that in quotes. Someone who holds on to such a view as, he hit me, he struck me, he stole from me, he did this to me. Someone who holds on to that will never let go of their anger. But someone who doesn't hold on to this view, someone who knows how to let go of their anger, doesn't give precedence and weight to their own anger and their own angry perceptions, like they really wronged me. Holding on to that as opposed to principles of forgiveness, principles of actually they're a conditioned being that have been conditioned by their own stuff, and me reifying and person making out of them, that's delusion. Rather giving precedence and weight to the true Dhamma, I give weight to my own dislike. And not to say that you should be unsafe and you should always forgive or forget immediately. Yeah, be safe and notice patterns in the people around you. But it's painful. The Buddha said that this just leads to pain, and it's never going to end, the cycle of violence. I hope you don't have friends, but you probably do. And they might possibly be old friends because they're obsessed with their own petty angers and the slight that you did to them 20 years ago. So rather than holding on to the true Dhamma, principles of coming back to not self, back into the body, into a greater mind, one's obsessed with one's dislikes and one's fault finding. And the fourth person existing in the world is someone who gives weight to grievances rather than giving weight to the true Dhamma. Constantly repeating that story that we have about the person that we don't like or who has slighted us. And again, we're not making ourselves stupid. We're not training in forgetting. We're training in wisdom. We will just keep burning if we don't know how to let go, if we can just let go of that lasso that's holding on. The lasso is the story that we've hooked the other person into. And whatever way we conceive of it, the truth is always other than that. There's always more of a story. We don't know all the conditions that went into that other person's conditioning and what they did to us. So there are those four persons. The very next sutta, you'll be happy to hear, says the exact same thing. There are four other people existing in the world, those who give precedence and attentional gravity, weight, respect to the true Dhamma, not to gain or gaining likes or anger or grievance, but to the true Dhamma. And those people exist, and those people can be us when we do that. So coming back to a center of gravity in the body, and it really can. It's almost like if we've been paying so much attention outside, it really can help to bring attention to the back, to what's behind us even, to just even out that pull forward. We'll be thinking about that person wanting that thing, and we keep getting hooked. But just come back to the feeling at the back of the head, something very neutral. You didn't create the back of your head. And probably you don't even, have much of a story about the back of the head until you get hit on it or something. You probably don't even know what the back of your head looks like. Someone took a picture this past Sunday of the back of my head, and I was surprised to look at it. I've been living with it for so long, but I looked at, that is weird. It's weird looking. Don't peek if you haven't seen it before, but yeah, coming back to the back. Come back to the back. So letting go of abijja domanassa, letting go of grief and anger towards the world. The first word of this refrain, in each sense, so in this translation, one abides contemplating body as body, feelings as feelings, mind as mind, mind objects in mind objects. Here it's translated as body in as body. It's more accurate actually to translate it as in the body. It's the locative sense. In Pali, you've got cases, so it's like in the body is one word, kaye, in the body, in feeling, feelings inside of feelings, mind inside of mind, mind inside of mind, mind objects inside of mind objects. And what this points to, we want to have wiggle room, yeah, to be able to have this degree of remove, yeah, to be able to step back, and we can. The mind is big enough. You could think about it as this mind in the mind. It's like we're living in a snow globe. It's like we're living in a snow globe. And so much of the time, we're the ones who are shaking it up, and we're so obsessed with the glitter, and we're obsessed with everything else that's inside the snow globe, and we are the snowman. But there's space in the mind. The mind is bigger than that. And there's actually no glass to this snow globe. The mind is bigger than that. You can expand the mind three-dimensionally, globally. This is what's really helpful about exercising this locational, spatial, attentional muscle. Rather than bleeding out the eyes, leaning forward, leaning into what we like and what we don't like, literally bringing the mind back to a place of a balance, respecting garu, garava, giving gravity to that which is balanced. Because anyone who's practiced yoga knows the most relaxing posture, other than just lying down, corpse posture, is just totally being upright. When you've practiced in this posture, the spine is upright and the spinal column is just stacked one on top of the other, and everything just relaxed. It's like the coat around the coat rack is just relaxing with the weight of gravity. Just all our muscles, all the mind can just relax. All of the glitter in the snow globe, we're not shaking it up. We're coming back to a bigger view that's bigger than the tiny snowman, bigger than all the glitter. So knowing mind in the mind, knowing mind in the mind, body in the body. And the word here is abide, viharati, or one dwells in this. And once you can do this, once you can shift attention away from that which is obsessing us and keeping us so hyper-focused on some extremely tiny part of the universe, like your story about your neighbor, I have never thought about it once in my life. I don't even know anything about it. But it's so huge for you. And it's so huge for me. My own stories, our own lassos, our own glitter. It's so huge for us. It's so sparkly and entrancing for us. But we need to, and we can, come back to a bigger mind. And the first step to that can be this coming back to the back, to a place of physical and mental balance. Putting away covetousness and greed, the overthinking and the dejection with regards to the world. And that way we can balance in the world, because there's a lot of ugly glitter floating around these days around us, and I think everybody has their own versions of that. And yeah, we're going to be the best snowmen and snow women and snow people that we can be if we're able to have some perspective on that. So in the talk there.
Han Thamayang Thamakataya Sadhu Garang Kathamase Sadhu 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 Anumodhami.
Okay, we have some time for question and answers. If you have a question here, you can raise your hand and Miles will run a mic to you. And if you have a question on Zoom, you can raise your hand. And just to note, one of our community members has put gold on the back of the Buddha. That is, they've done something for everybody that they don't want to be known for. But it's a really cool thing. And you may have seen this little bag next to me. It's not drugs. Don't worry. It is gold. It is more laminated poly. More laminated poly. It doesn't say stop fronting, but it does have the poly. You can supply the other. And here, yeah, different from last week. It can be like Pokemon. You can try to catch all the laminated cards that we give you out from now into the future. And we've got, I think, 36 of them, which is maybe half of you. So some scarcity, make you more excited to get your own copy. And I'll save some, and then I'll pass out the others on each side. Actually, Kate, can you put these just in the back, on the back table? Okay. Yeah, afterwards. So you can take it yourself, and I won't watch. If you want to take 2 for a friend, I don't know about that, but yeah, get 1 for yourself for sure.
Thank you, Ajahn, for the talk. It was very helpful. The question is just a clarification on the third and fourth person. They sounded very similar, the disliking and grievances. That, to me, I couldn't tell what the difference is there. Thank you.
Yeah, the Pali is koda and mukha. Koda is the anger, which for some people is just like dropping the lasso. It's like you've noticed that your story is hot and you let go of it. That's the initial anger. And mukha, muck literally does mean to muck up or to smear. So it's the grievance. It's our, the stories that we've told about it. Over time, this smeared, our perception of that person is wholly smeared and holding on to that grievance. So it's kind of a different type of letting go. We've been holding I guess to continue that metaphor, with the koda lasso, the anger lasso, we can just let go of it. And the smeary one, it's a bit harder to let go. So.
Thank you. So I have a question about skillful means and balance of when you have caused others harm, right? Because I noticed that the forward thing is I need to lean forwards. I need to know that they're okay, and I need to know that they're not mad at me, and I need to do all this outward forward action of reparation. And then there's this backward motion of oh, I'm ashamed I've done bad, and maybe my presence in this situation is making it worse, right? So I think wondering in that situation of how to find balance of care for other people by caring for yourself in balance.
Yeah, great question. And reconciliation, or learning how to ask forgiveness and how to give forgiveness, are extremely important life skills if you want to have good friends. And yeah, I think what you're describing is extremely common. All of us have experienced that. And it's like we're picking up both the abhijja and the domanassa, the covetousness, the overthinking, and the grief. And say in a moment of meditation, if you're not with the person and you've set aside, okay, for this 15 minutes, it is healthy for me and for the other person. I'm the acrobat on the ground. I'm going to look after myself here for 15 minutes. It's good to set aside other maybe 15 minutes or half an hour or 45 minutes after that. Now that the mind has gotten more settled and balanced, I'll give myself 45 minutes to see how I can fix that relationship. But for these 15 or however, whatever works for you and whatever is best, spending that and really realizing when that thought comes up, now is not the time to take up that hook. Now is not the time. Okay, just putting aside. It is important if it is important, and it's just a tendency. We've been wrangling our whole lives, and it's just a habit. And so I can drop it, and it'll appear in my hand the next moment, and I can drop it again, and you can drop it again. And then after that time, yeah, first forgiving yourself. I think Jack Kornfield has a great forgiveness meditation. You forgive yourself, you forgive other people to the extent that you can, and you ask forgiveness. So you forgive yourself, you forgive the other person, and you ask forgiveness in your mind. Each of these is a distinct type of meditation, a distinct skill. And yeah, the Buddha said that's a characteristic of a wise person, is someone who can do that, who can admit a fault when they have done something fault-worthy, someone who can give forgiveness, and one who knows how to do that. So, yeah, very good question. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you for the talk. Ajahn, so you mentioned in the chant there's body is body and mind is mind and mind objects are mind objects. So I'm thinking, are there different ways of releasing? Like when one realizes that what they're carrying is in the body versus what they're carrying is in the mind, there are different, and versus mind objects that persist, there's different ways of releasing.
There definitely are different ways of releasing, and they all do have an effect on one another. And each one of them can be its own path to liberation. And different meditation traditions will sometimes focus exclusively on one of those, like the Goenka tradition, a meditation tradition, 10-day meditation retreats will focus on that second one, knowing feelings, Vedana in Vedana. And they've got a very specific way of doing that, of watching the feelings in the body from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. So that's very good for when you find something in the body. And there are even different ways of doing a body scan. Just knowing it is one way, just knowing as you scan, knowing and letting go as you scan. So you come to a part and you just physically let that body part cly, just let it relax, go in every single direction, relaxation. You can feel through it, you can feel around it. Knowing mind in mind, that's the basis for Dzogchen or different Zen, Chan traditions. Just big mind, knowing mind. Much of Japanese Buddhism is based around that. A lot of Tibetan Buddhism in its highest practices is based around that. So I find that if you're trying to live the Dhamma, it's not just about 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, because life happens during those 15 minutes, during that half an hour, and at every single moment, in between those, we're creating karma, we're creating habits, we're creating ourselves, we're creating the world all the time. And to become mindful of that, and the Buddha wasn't a one-trick monk, He didn't just teach one way of doing things. You have all these different, 40 different volumes in the Pali Canon of different skillful means for letting go. And so much of it is like table of contents, and you have to be the one to flesh it out. Here's the skeleton. And the skeleton is a way of, skeleton is one of the meditation objects. But how do you do that? He just says you can focus on the skeleton. But how do you do that? Do you say skeleton, skeleton, skeleton? Do you say skull, skull, skull? All of these, you put the flesh, you bring all these things to life. So experimenting and allowing that when it's helpful. It's also good to just stay with one thing, practice that muscle too. Hope that's helpful. It's a great question. Yeah, Jules.
Is that why it's the Gonka tradition, the 10-day retreats are more associated with people going crazy as far as psychotic breaks? And
Those 10-day retreats are intense. If you're doing noble silence and people are not talking, and there's a teacher who doesn't feel totally empowered to teach, but to say, just come back to the body. Those are pressure cookers. Those are pressure cooker environments. And I think what's most healthy, if you do find anyone that we've got like any kind of tendencies towards mental imbalance, both being embodied and having a big mind. So having an awareness which includes the full body and is bigger, has that wiggle room.
I'm more talking about like the focus on watching emotions, like focusing too much on your emotions could make them grow bigger and then potentially push someone over the edge, is what I'm kind of saying.
That's great. Maybe I'll respond and then we can talk more after.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we want to, part of knowing mind as mind is, knowing emotions as emotions. It's just this much. Kenny, it's just this much. And yeah, we can become hyperfixated, hyperfixed, hyperfocused on these different things. And part of meditation, it's not a rote exercise. We have to learn how to make meditation not a rote exercise, but always have this sensitivity. Part of mindfulness and sampajanya, which is translated here as clearly aware, fully aware, is part of right mindfulness. Sati is mindfulness, but you also have to be fully aware, which is knowing how you're holding and being with your meditation object. How are you looking? How are you meditating? It's not just the object. The object is important, but how you're holding it. And if you're holding a tense mind state tensely, double the dukkha. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Does anyone else here have a question? And then we'll go to Joseph after that, if we have time. Yeah, please.
Thank you for the talk. Can you talk a little more about the translation of Dhamma Nupasi?
Yeah, I would recommend the full Foundations of Mindfulness discourse. Middle-length discourse is number 10. Goes deeply into what each of these four means. And what it here means, mind objects as mind objects. Different teachers suggest that it means different things. But what I have taken away from the main discourse is that it's looking at things in terms of the frameworks that the Buddha has given. So looking at things rather in terms of just the full rainbow spectrum of emotions, wholesome, unwholesome, undifferentiated rainbow. The Buddha specifically says, okay, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. We've got these five hindrances. And labeling it, this is the spectrum of a hindrance, and this is unwholesome, and I don't want to cultivate that. And here's the whole rainbow spectrum of enlightenment factors. So these are structures, they're mental frameworks that the Buddha has given, and thinking in terms of these. So rather in terms of thinking in terms of me and mine, and you and yours, and my story of you, and which is so complicated, infinitely complicated. We think, oh, actually, this is anger, or this is mindfulness, this is joy. And being able to label it as such, not trying to diminish it in any way, but, oh, this is this. It takes the me out of the whole story, which keeps things a lot more simple. So that's one way of conceiving it, but definitely recommend this mindfulness of, Foundations of Mindfulness Sutta, of which there are many translations online. So, yeah. And Joseph, please. Hey, you want to unmute? Nope. Maybe can Joseph unmute? Okay.
Oh, thank you. Ajahn, I'm so grateful for your book, The Wellbeing Cascade. There was something that you wrote in that book that came up during today's talk. Specifically, I'm so grateful for the example of Lady Visakha under Anumodana, where you gave you gave a quote about how she develops the 7 factors and the 5 powers, or the various powers, through recollecting that such and such used her alms food or alms for the sick in rain's cloth. And the reason I wanted to bring that up was you brought up laba, or I think, is that the right word? Like thinking about gains, as a how is that different from anumodana? Because with anumodana we can rejoice in having given, and that can be a factor for developing the 7 factors of awakening. So that's incredibly wholesome. How should we be mindful of what gains means in that regard? Because it seems that Lady Visakha is using her generosity as a factor to develop the path, and I wanted to kind of ask about Laba in that regard. Was that clear enough?
Yeah, that's great. And I think
Cool.
it's important to note that so this laba, the first type of gravity or the first way of things that we respect and not respecting the true Dhamma is gains. So that's all about getting and taking. I want this, I'm going to order that. And the anumodana or dana means giving, generosity. Anumodana is delighting in someone else's giving. And so both of those are giving. Wanting is one thing, and then giving. So taking or wanting is the laba, which we lean away from or at least drop. And then the anumodana, giving and then giving appreciation are way to be cultivated, and they can very much lead to that sense of well-being that you pointed to. And would just say, the Buddha talked about, or there's a sutta, the commentaries talk about different ways of making merit, making this punya, making boon. And one of them is through generosity. So you make merit by being generous, but you can also make merit, make this boon by delighting in someone else's merit. And that's just lazy man's boon. It's like you don't have to do anything yourself. It's like that guy gave, and that's awesome. And I can enjoy it and delight in that. And that itself is boon. That's merit. That's wholesome mind state that we're cultivating. And it's easy. Just don't begrudge them, and that's one step in the right direction. So it's great being here with everybody. And would like to, we do this on the first Saturday of every month, is have a chance for celebrating people for the whole month. So if anyone here has a birthday in March or just something else that you would like to celebrate in March, the whole of March, from today, March 1st, until the end of March, if you would be willing and not feel too embarrassed, if you wanted to come up here, we did this last month, and you could just come up here and we will ask you a few questions, but it's totally, you're in a sphere of love. You've got huge Guanyin eyeball looking at you, and we just love to celebrate the community. And yeah, we just, if anyone is so bold, so courageous to come up, and you can just come up and stand over here or sit down. And if you're on Zoom as well, feel free to raise your hand and we will celebrate you. So March birthdays, we know you're out there. Nice. Yeah, everybody can come up as a group. March birthdays or March celebrations. March Madness. Anybody? Okay, and you can come up later if you haven't been so bold yet. But we'll just ask you maybe to say your name and to say when your birthday is, or your special day is, if you're so willing. And also, what's one thing that you look back with kind of wholesome Dhammic feeling for this past year?
First, okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Katie, and my birthday is on Monday, March 3rd. And let's see, so much Dhamma over the last year. But I guess the highlight was getting to go to one of the Ajahn Chah branch monasteries in Portugal in December, and that was just a really nice way to end the year because it was a very chaotic year for me. So that was really nice, but nice being here with all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And you get one of the laminate cards. Great. Yes. I know you're all going to be looking for March celebrations now that you get a card, but thank you, Katie. Sadhu. Okay, please.
Hi, I'm Matt. If I had to pick one thing from the past year, and I might cheat a little because it was mainly this year, it was just joining everybody here. Really grateful to kind of have discovered this and to be part of this. So That's my answer. Oh, the 16th, yeah.
Hello, my name is Bree, and my birthday is March 30th, so at the end of the month. I think that a piece of Dharma that stuck out for me in this past year was getting the opportunity to travel to India and go and do a Buddhist pilgrimage, traveling to a whole bunch of the Buddhist sites, including Bodh Gaya. Yeah, definitely just an incredible way to see the vastness of this practice and the Dharma, and has continued a lot of my forward momentum in a big way. So. Thank you.
And we've got Mary online.
Hello, thank you for this. Happy birthday, all you Pisces out there. Mine is going to be March 10th, and I will be 77, which seems like a very auspicious year. So I'm looking forward to it. And I have to say that one of the greatest, there's so many Dharma blessings. Yes, what is that? You wanted to say something? No. So one of the greatest Dharma blessings of this past year, and there have been many, but one of the greatest was amazingly after my brother's death, watching the Dharma raise like ghee to the top to meet me and hold me. And it was a beautiful gift of a life in the Dharma. So I'm eternally grateful, happy to be alive and sharing this life with all of you on the path. Thank you.
Mary, thank you so much. Happy birthday month. Joseph.
Thank you, Ajahn. March 16th. One thing for sure I'm really grateful for this year was that quote from your book, The Wellbeing Cascade, in terms of gifts of tranquility. I think it's Anguttara Nikaya 2.36, if I'm not mistaken. It's in your book, so on page 33. So um, why I'm really grateful about that is it was so beautiful to I'm making a lot of heart-shaped gifts, and the AI art was a big deal for me to express loving kindness in a physical way, but to actually hear from the Buddha about a really good way to offer gifts, the gift of peace. May my mind be peaceful. May my faculties be peaceful. When my mind and my faculties are peaceful, then my thoughts and my words and my deeds will be peaceful. And I will offer gifts of peace to my spiritual friends and Brahmafarers and spiritual practitioners. And that just really opened the heart to know, if I had nothing, I could still give. And I recognize that what you've been doing has been giving the gift of peace, this whole kind of meditation session. And just to have that katavedita, that appreciation of goodness, is a great gift. And thank you. And thank you to the whole Sangha and the Triple Gem. May all beings benefit.
Thank you, Joseph, excuse me. Is that Jack?
Hi, thank you, Ajahn. And happy birthday to everyone. My birthday is March 30th, so that'll be cool. Also, as far as things I'm grateful for is kind of finding Clear Mountain Monastery, honestly. And I found you guys online late last year and just kind of moving from reading about Buddhism to actually trying to practice. So, yeah, I'm just really grateful I made that decision. So.
Awesome, Jack. Thank you. And let's give 3 Clear Mountain sparkly sadhus to everybody who's got a birthday this month. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. Happy birthday. And for all those birthday people, you get, we had a dessert deva. So we've got volunteers who are called dessert devas who make desserts on these first Saturdays. And especially everybody who had a birthday, feel free to get a special cookie made by someone who has put gold on the back of the Buddha. Until I out them, it was Mike. It was Mike Fitzpatrick. Beautiful gift to the whole Sangha. Feel free to get your your cookies and little balls first. And also feel free to get one and give it away. So really wonderful. Everyone can share in the food back there. There's enough cookies, I think, for everybody and food. So potluck time, and see if you can make it a challenge to say hello to someone who you haven't maybe met before. And actually, if anyone is here for the first, second, or third time, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand and just saying your name and how you heard about Clear Mountain. Yeah, please. Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, please. I'll say your name. Good to meet you, Drew. Welcome. Yeah, and please. Oh, cool. Welcome, Haley. Nice. Please. Yeah. Okay. Megan, welcome. Yeah, please. And your friends call you Hindi, John? Lindy. Okay. Good to meet you. Good to meet you. Yeah, please. Linda? Erica, excuse me. Erica, welcome. Yeah, please. Cool. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, please. Well, welcome, Ryan and Sarah. Okay. Well, it's potluck time, and anyone who wants to can bow to the Buddha shrine, and no pressure.
All right, welcome everyone to the Zoom coffee hour. And let's see if everyone can unmute. Let's see, how many people do we have? 17.